Hello, and welcome to the Disc Dungeon, where we put you on to musics and melodies in the deepest, darkest dungeons of your computer disk. I'm your co-host, Joe Dove, and with me, as always,
Julian Valencia. And if there's one thing we love talking about, it's music. Go. This is Disc Dungeon episode number 26. I feel like last week was 26 too. I hope we're not mistaken.
No. Last week was
maybe
25.
We're just going to keep doing the 26th episode.
I think this is like
26.
It's like the 2020 syndrome, where you're like, I'm in May.
Yeah,
I'm in November.
What do you mean?
September?
It's September. Yeah.
Oh my God! Already?
It is September, guys.
Crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy. Well, as always, guys, I'm Julian Valencia.
And I'm Joe Dove, and welcome back to the Disc Dungeon.
And we have a special guest today, as you see right in the middle of us.
Yes.
This is el señor Enrique, el guitarrista de la gente, Henry Martinez.
It sounds like you're trying to hype it up like it's Algo Gigante or something.
Exactly. La guitarra de la gente.
Oh, man. Yeah, that's me.
Well, welcome. I'm
Thanks.
very excited to have you because you are a maestro behind the scenes of Adios.
No, adios.
Not adios. But
Goodbye.
Adios?
Adios?
We out.
Adios.
See ya.
Adios.
I'm leaving.
Damn.
And, I always hear whispers of you, and we don't have enough interaction personally behind the
Now
scenes.
we're going to have a ton of interaction.
But today we did. We have
and we're going to have even more interaction right now. We're just interacting.
Yeah. And it's been great because we've been diving deep into a forte that you know greatly about. And this episode coincides with the 35th anniversary release of the Mario Brothers.
That was not planned.
And that was not planned, but we were going to hype you up and bring you into this special event. And that is video game and music, because we're leveling up. As you can see, we're much clearer. We're much brighter. We're much shinier. We're much happier.
Yeah, there you go.
Here we go. Happy.
I'm so happy.
My stats are maxed out.
Yeah, I'm over 9,000 right now. It's so exciting.
Can you see? Where's the lie?
So first of all, we're going to start off with Let Me Put You On.
Guys, so this week, last week, we put you on to a couple of different things. So we're actually saving those for next week's episode.
Yes.
Because of levels, we've decided to focus this week on music soundtracks from video games, from your classic video games, from some obscure ones you may not have heard. We really delve into a couple of them right before this beautiful broadcast that we're doing now. This week I put you on to Age of Empires, Rise of Rome soundtrack.
And it's a wondrous world to go back in time into all the way back into the 1990s. And yes. I got to tell you, it was so much fun listening to that soundtrack. And I never played that game, so this was a total, complete surprise to me. I didn't know what to expect, and I'm very adverse to I'm not adverse to midi scores because I absolutely love some of the greatest midis ever, like Shining Force, like it's Shining Force 1, as a matter of fact. Just some of the things that they could do in that 8 to 16-bit world is just so amazing, and the sounds that came out of it were great. Some of the music would sound like, is this the... Because I didn't play the game, so I had to ask you, is this when the Egyptians attacked? Is this
exactly.
I'm like picturing it in my head.
Something's going down.
Yeah, something's going down now because this music... And it's so fitting. Like it blends perfectly with the soundscape and landscape that you're building up around you in the Age of Rome. Yeah. And, there's sections where it's like harpsichord because that came out then. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, the actual armies were Rome, Greece, the Persians.
Oh, okay. So that's
the
Egyptians, probably.
Egyptians, and then something with the A.
Ottoman Turks? No. That's way
the
later.
Ottoman Empire was in the two, but it wasn't called the Ottoman.
That's later. No, it was probably the Visigoths.
There was I would say like maybe 6 or 8 in total. It was, I mean, usually in Rise of Rome you played with the Roman Empire,
right?
The Persian Empire and the
Egyptian Empire,
and
Greek.
The Greek, exactly. Yeah. Those were the 4 main ones. And by the way, I only played the trial version.
Oh,
That
you
was-
never played
That's it. I would just always, because I was just a little kid, I would always play the trial version.
Wow.
And then I would, and then online, you only needed the trial version to play online.
Oh, so you got away with it.
So exactly. So
nice.
we were like, let's.
And it was a full game.
And it was.
That's all you needed.
No, but all we needed was just to play because it was like a big body of water in the middle, and then on the outside you had 4 different countries. 2 were really long, 2 were short, but the short ones had a lot of resources and more coverage. And then the long ones, you really needed kind of like boats to cover all your coastline.
Love me some boats in mid-D.
Yeah, I mean, it's
8-bit boats.
A word, and you can Bastians, something like that. But the ships Bastillions that shot
Yeah.
So, anyways, it was dope, man, and I loved history at that point in life too.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot to learn from those things. Some people get a full historical education through video games, and though may it not be accurate, it's still pretty interesting, and sometimes it forces people to actually search it, research it, and learn it.
Yeah, like
and that's great.
Exactly. Like, why did the Romans have these type of boats? And why did the
and then the other ones didn't.
Exactly.
Yeah, like what happened?
And Persians used elephants. Oh, that was the thing. You used the Persians to get the elephants.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah,
but the Romans had the
wall,
the ballista. What is it again?
Bastilia.
The Bastillas.
Yeah.
They were so good. They were so powerful. So that was the best defense against the elephants.
Oh wow!
But the elephants, in turn, if you had a little more, if you kind of outnumbered them a little bit, you would just
wreck house.
Because you would get close enough where they couldn't do shit anymore.
Gotcha.
So is this like a very elaborate rock, paper, scissors?
Basically, rock, and every scenario is rock, paper, scissors between the whatever, your Pokemon and his Pokemon, or your fighter and his fighter. Like, it didn't matter.
Fuck yeah.
Oh man.
It's the same concept, I guess.
I'm also fascinating that you played this game.
Right, because I don't.
I don't. Like, out of all games, Julian played Age of Empires.
Well, that was my. We're going to talk about this more in Music Saved My Life. Let's get your. Let's get your verdict.
I put you. Oh man, this was dope. I definitely give it an 8 because like I throw myself back in time because I grew up in the age of Mega Man 2 and Super Mario Brothers 1 on the Nintendo. So for me, that mid-D early sound from video games, graduating from like Pong and Atari, was amazing, and it's just held on to that sound and just put a fluid of flashbacks in my head that were all positive and happy reminiscence. And then it still managed to put me into the ideal of being in Rome at that time, worrying about Persians invading, or the Visigoths or somebody like that just coming in. So everything fits so well. So I like I said, I give it a 9 because it fits the game. It made me want to listen to more. It made me actually want to try to pick up the game. But until you started telling me that you have to build your wall, and it was like, oh, build a wall.
Yeah.
A little joke.
Okay.
All right. So I put you on to in one of my childhood favorite games. It was from the PS2, and this is the graduation from mid-D into more of an actual music core. It was composed music. And what did you think from the soundtrack of Final Fantasy X?
I got one question to ask you before I dive into it.
Okay.
Was Final Fantasy X the one that had the card game?
Oh. No,
or like the little games that you would play where you would have to like the cards had little monsters on them. This was a version of Final Fantasy, but I don't know.
There's this Final Fantasy where there's card games and there's little. But they always have like mini quests.
It wasn't 10.
I don't think it was 10.
Okay.
I didn't dive into the mini quests because they had to do the blitz ball. I had to like build the blitz ball up. That was like the mini quest of soccer, underwater soccer.
All right, so like something you guys have to understand, you as the audience, is that I don't play video games. You know what I mean? It's not that I don't like them. I love watching my friends play them. Sometimes I'll get like hyped up and play some competitive FIFA game or some type of that, some game of that manner. But I don't really play games. And like Henry said, it's weird that I was playing Age of Empires. Final Fantasy, I had PS2. I had a game. I don't know what version it was, but I remember me only really liking the card game,
the mini game,
and literally going back to the same spot just to keep playing the game.
Yeah, I know Suikoden had a card game too. There was another game from PS2, and it's another great game. Suikoden. That's another good soundtrack too. But that we'll talk about at a later date. And they had a card game, and they had they had CeeLo. You know CeeLo, the dice game.
Yeah.
They had a version of CeeLo in that game, which is really cool to like go in the game and then play CeeLo.
Dude, but the music Man, like the first 4 songs, especially the rock metal song that hit,
Otherworld,
they all hit really hard in their own way. So you know, I mean that right off the bat, I mean there's no vocals, right? There's no real singing on most of them.
Most of them, yeah,
on most of them, right?
Yeah.
So that would brings it from a 10 to a 9 for me, but the music is like a 20, bro. Like
no.
The rock is so hard. Yeah, the instrumental was a 20, dude. Like, I can't even give it a 10.
That meter, son.
Yeah,
I can't give it a 10. You know what I mean?
Riley Ritchie.
The instrument. You know, obviously, I would want more lyrics. I would want to hear like song concepts on this, and that would be dope for somebody to do. But that's the only reason why I got to point down. Outside of that music was rocking.
Yeah,
you know, there are some arrangements of a lot of this music where they add vocals, actually.
No, don't tell me that.
Yeah. I got to hear these.
I'll probably get lost in that.
I would too, yeah.
They're interesting.
Because like, the only one that actually had lyrics, there's like 3. There's, and some of the lyrics are non-descriptive. But Otherworld was the only one with lyrics. And it's about like transitioning from one world to the other. Mm. And the game really gets into the whole, what happens when you die and you know, can you come back? And there's a lot of really cool concepts, especially like universal concepts that they had. And this was scored by Nobu Itsushima and Mashi Hamauzu and Junaya Nakano.
Can you look up who composed Age of Empires?
Sure, absolutely.
I don't even know.
Age of Empires was done by...
I just have so many guesses already.
What? Like, I feel like it's somebody Middle Eastern.
Yeah, it seems like it.
Dude, it's probably just like some one dude with the most random and generic name. And I'm ready for it. Stephen
Rippey.
Oh my God! What
Stephen Rippey? So is that kind of like John Adams, like the Indian who has like the John Adams name?
Maybe, but he did a lot of the Age of Empires. He's like, you know, totally,
this is the
he's a white man.
Yeah,
he's a white dude. He's Caucasian. Okay. White dude was going in.
Yeah, he was.
He's 45.
He's from
right
Texas.
Texas,
and he does some film music too. Yeah,
see, that's a Tricks of the Keys right there.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. He himself.
He himself is the trick. Oh my God! Yeah. So this is like an Egyptian guy. Yeah, it's maybe nope. He's Caucasian.
No, just some dude.
One of our I feel like the best one of the best sections in this episode that we're gonna have is this one. Is Music Saved My Life. You know, because I know that this Final Fantasy X in particular was something that you had a connection with.
A deep connection.
Yeah, you were telling me about that.
I talk a lot about my family in the show, specifically like the great trinity of music influences in my life: my mom, my aunt, my uncle. But this particular game brought me closer to my grandmother. She retired early because of some illnesses, and she had a strange bone degenerative disease. So her bones became more and more brittle. So she would just sit and watch me play video games. And particularly this video game, because it's such a long video game. It's 75 hours, 80 hours if you play all the MIDI side games and everything. That I spent hours just sitting there playing the game, and she would watch and she'd ask me very little questions, but she would watch and goes, "This is amazing what they can do in this little box." You know, like her concept was this little really box cute. Did all these things. And for me, I was like, "Oh my God, Grandma, look at this." And I'm just showing her. And when I was like, oh man, like 15, I think 15, 16. Just playing with my grandmother, and we spent hours playing this game. And when we found the big reveal at the end of the game, even she was like, "Oh, that boy dead," you know,
like she was like, invested.
She was really invested. She was like, she would call me like she would cook, and then she would call me to cook, and then I'd run and play video games. And she'd be like, "Boy, get back down here," and then she would call me, and I would come back. "Oh, I'm sorry, I just wanted to play a video game." And then, you know, years later, we would just like order pizza and we would just sit and play that video game. And she'd watch me actually play the game. Kind of like your concept. Like, I'd rather watch somebody else play. That was my grandmother. And we, like I said, spent hours. And then when she got really sick, they slimmed the PlayStation and she ended up going into a nursing home. And I brought the PlayStation to the nursing home. I was like, "Remember this game?" And we watched, and she'd watch me play it there. And she's like, "Oh, wow. I didn't know these little boxes could be mobile." You know, it was just so many fun moments with her. Watching that. And then I remember one time that she went to the hospital for one of the incidences that she had. She goes, "Make sure you save the game," when she was leaving. And I was that like, killed me at one point because it's like, she wasn't there. But at the same time, it was like, this game really brought she and I even closer together. And there's just so many fun moments with her in the Final Fantasy X game. Just exploring the whole game, all the music. She would even hum some of the music. She was a big Yanni fan. She put me on a lot of different New Age music, like Enya. Do you know Enya?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So she would put me on to Enya because she used to drive. And I think Orinoco Flow came out, and I used to love hearing that song. And she bought me the cassette tape years ago. And then my mom bought me the rest of it, the CDs when I got older. And it's just a lot of fond memories of somebody that's not here right now. And I actually bought they did an upgraded version, like a remaster, so to speak. And I bought it just to play it and just reminisce about the times I used to play in my house with my grandmother. Because you got to think of it as the 90s days where you didn't have the big TV in your room. You had the one TV in the house that was large that everybody would congregate around.
Yeah.
Now everybody's got a laptop and they're just on their laptops. So
yeah,
back then it was
just multiple spot. TVs. Yeah.
Yeah, or multiple TVs. And it was just such a fun time to sit there and she'd watch me. And, when we were going back even further, we used to have a Nintendo. I remember my uncle, when he had a Gremlin. Do you remember that car? It was the original hatchback. Every kid that did music had that. You would put your giant speaker in the back and then run a cable to the stereo. You had to have the stereo come out of the car and rewire it. And then you'd have a dope sound system in your car, but it was really not good for your hearing. So, because it's basically this giant speaker, probably the size of this television that you have.
Damn.
Yeah, it was the good old days. But he and I used to play Mega Man, and you'd take turns. He would get frustrated with it because you had to time jump and all this stuff. And a lot of that music, we would always joke about it. The Bubble Man stage, we would always make up lyrics to it because it's just sound. It's and they had like different pitches that would go on, and then we would just make up like lyrics. I don't remember any of it. It's been like 30 years, but
I do that a lot. Yeah. No lyrics, especially. I'm writing all wild.
Yeah, you were just kickstarting your freestyle career.
Yeah, it sounded like
nice.
If you guys haven't seen his freestyle, go to I Want to Be Seen.
You watch me freestyle. It's just me in the corner.
Specifically to the Bubble Man theme song.
Yeah,
I need it.
Yeah. I mean, like I was saying before, guys. I mean, my experience is far different than both of you. I think that I played one big game. I played FIFA, I played Tekken, Mario Kart Party.
Tekken was the
Smash
jam.
Bros Party. I said party. I said Mario Party is what I meant. But Age of Empires was pretty much the game, and Medal of Honor. I think I had a good run with that as well. But yeah, really what it brings back to me is is my cousin Adriano. He's the one who put me on the age of 11 to the game, to Age of Empires, and me and him, we started playing kind of campaigns and one-on-one against each other, and then we went on Game Zone. That was the name of
I remember that. Wow.
That was the name of the one, Game Zone, and we used to just go and play Age of Empires: Rise of Rome. And
just the demo.
AOL, you remember that?
Wow.
I always had the trial version of the game. I had the trial version of AOL. I had Netscape, Juno.
Wow.
You remember those?
Yeah.
Just to whatever I could get myself on a new trial, and I would do just to stay on the internet, and then it would like crash in the middle of the games because my membership would be up.
Yeah. Oh my god!
Right when the Persians are attacking, I've got you now, Persians. Beep. Sorry, your trial's up.
No. It just honestly, what it brings the biggest memories to me is that's why I loved architecture, because of Age of Empires. I started kind of getting into architecture, and specifically like transportation architecture, where you were setting up like cities, you were setting up environments where traffic had to flow, and all that was interesting to me. But I didn't do architecture, guys, by the way. Obviously the music.
Well, you're creating music. That's an architectural design.
Exactly. I'm an architectural.
You're designing
music. You're designing
and frequencies and vibrations.
There you go.
Music architect.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's funny, it's funny you mentioned frequency. Frequency modulation, which is the FM synthesis, was created by John Chowing from Stanford University. And that came out about
right over her
67, 68, which is when my uncle was born. So that's a fun little connection between video games. My uncle, who brought me onto video games, and he got the license, and people basically had to pay him to do video game sounds because the sound waves that he was using diarrhythms to recreate and getting close to the sound of real world instruments.
Mm.
And it's funny that we call this episode Level Up, because as we progress in the show and we get more tuned with the segments and how we divulge the information that we share, it's also interesting how video games had their leveling up from like the Pong era from the 60s, which is the 8-bit graphics, to the 16-bit graphics, which, you know, the Age of Empires with my Shining Force and Mega Man. Yeah. And then, you know, as the graphics level up, the sound level up. They went from midi at one point, which is my all-time favorite, which is what Age of Empires was mostly on, I'm sure.
Got it.
But I know definitely Mega Man's midi, Sonic midi, all that stuff. And it's just great music. There's a lot of, like, Final Fantasy is one of the soundtracks that I'll still listen to. I actually bought that CD. I think I actually still have that CD, and it's on my, I know it's on my iPod because I broke out my old school iPod with the wheel, you know, and I literally played that music on my way to work.
Yeah, what's fascinating to me about 8-bit, 16-bit, 30, because 30, by the time you got to 32-bit and 64-bit, it was on. Yeah. But like with 8-bit and 16-bit, you know, just the creativity behind having this box with very few tools and making iconic masterpieces, you know what I mean? That people recreate over and over again, you know?
Yeah.
It's kind of like, you know, I think about the concepts behind the way you thought about music back then as opposed to you do now. And we do that a lot here at Audios. You know, our behind the beat section is usually where we introduce the special guest, and we'll reintroduce Henry in a second. Let me finish this thought. Hold up. You know what I mean? So just, yeah, you know, it's just, I have this fascination, and I'll talk more about this in Tricks of the Keys, because it's kind of like, it kind of plays into this concept of you think it's done one way, but then there's so many other factors that go into play. Guys, let me stop.
Remember time.
Henry Martinez.
Welcome to the show.
Co-founder of Audios.
The pillar, the faith.
We met at City College of New York. You guys are from New York. You guys know this. We met doing music, essentially. He was playing the keys, and I came up to him. And
he's Tricks of the Keys.
And I started singing. Hey, exactly.
Yeah,
the original Tricks of
yeah.
the Keys.
Was it guitar?
It was I think it was...
It was guitar.
It was guitar?
It was at the
All right,
quad.
so then the time that sticks in my head the most is when you were out in the piano. You were out in the lawn in front of... what was the music building called?
Oh, Shepherd Hall.
Shepherd Hall, in front of Shepherd Hall, across the street from Shepherd Hall, right?
Yeah, in the quad.
In the quad, exactly. You were sitting there, you had your piano out, and you were playing Jason Mraz song.
Oh,
yeah.
Look at that.
And,
back to a couple episodes ago.
And I knew it, and I came over and started singing it with you. And that may have not been the first time, but it was probably the first time that like the biggest memory that I have.
How long ago was this now?
2008.
Yeah. Mad long. Fall
of 2008. Anyways, you know, Henry and I have been friends and partners now for, I mean, I guess we're soulmates. We call each other soulmates. So
there you go.
You know, we are partners of sorts.
Yeah.
You know, we got involved in a lot of college shenanigans throughout the years, and I'm excited to have him today. And one thing that you have to know going into this is that if there's one person you're going to talk to about video games and scoring video games and just El Maestro,
video games,
the video games, we got Henry Martinez.
What's up, y'all? My name is Henry.
Really?
I like cats.
You like cats?
That's actually the introduction I always use when I got hired at Apple.
Oh.
And we would go from like different buildings and teams and whatnot. I use the same one, and somebody finally caught on. They're like, "You need to say something else." I was like,
wow. Well, at least you had like a script, so you like stuck with it.
Yeah.
You just, I mean, if you have like a couple in your back pocket, then you can kind of just
like,
recycle.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. That way you trick people.
Guys, I mean, a lot of the beats that we've showed you, a lot of the songs that you've heard, in one way or another, Henry has been involved. So finally, we get him on camera and on podcast, so you guys can learn a little more about the man behind the guitar, behind the piano, behind the everything at this point. Because
behind the beat,
my man's produces, mixes, edits. we get it done. And and honestly, I think this is a great moment to talk about. Audios has been, it was conceived in 2017. Does that make sense? Right, end of 2017.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, like summerish.
It was summerish, fallish, right?
Fallish, yeah.
Yeah, summerish, fallish. So when we started, it was like, I would say like the first year to 2 years was a bumpy road. It was a bumpy road for us.
Hell yeah.
We realized that there was so much to learn outside of music, just how to run a business, how to manage a team, how to communicate to each other, what everybody needs to be, setting up your partners. Cause we're missing Joel. Joel is in the UK right now. He's the third leg to our tripod. It was a lot of that before, while music was happening, while the chemistry was there from the beginning. The chemistry was just there, but it was about the business aspect of it that I can proudly say that in this past year, we've gotten, so much traction, so many things are well oiled and working now. And
you've leveled up.
Yeah.
This is an Audios commercial.
It's actually
leveled up. And so obviously, Henry, you've been an integral part to that. We wanted to also kind of ask you some questions. Joe, do you have any questions lined up?
I always have a couple of questions.
Yeah, you always have a couple of questions?
I love answering questions.
So, all right, how did the video game, specifically video game music, influence your music that you work on, like your beats?
I think...
I won't stare too close.
It's fine. If I were to say succinctly, I think that video game music generally is very direct.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a point to all of the music.
Mm-hmm.
It does a thing. It's supposed to like serve a thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's supposed to do a thing. Whatever it is, it's like whether it's to hype you up or to bring you down or whatever mood or color it's trying to convey. It's a mood
setter.
Yeah. So like a lot of my music, I think about it that way too. Like very, very similarly, like things need to have functions and they exist because it sounds pretty, but mostly because I want to elicit something. Something needs to come out of that moment. Or moments. So that's probably like how it directly has in a very nerdy way of describing it all.
The white nerdy.
Yeah.
So what are your favorite video games that you think are most influential into your work?
To my work.
Yeah.
I think...
Without shouting out any copyright infringement stuff.
Oh, shit. So do I have to make up like generic names or something? Yeah. Like I'll say Fighter of the Streets or something?
Fight on the Streets 5.
The Monsters in the Pockets.
Monsters Inc.
Yeah. Just like, okay. Things that I think is influential.
What era? Like we mentioned like midi and
and all that stuff. I mean, I grew up playing the Nintendo 64, and I would say that a lot of that music, while it's really fun and exciting, has absolutely no influence to it. Yeah, exactly. It's only
expectations.
Yeah, it's actually only when I started paying attention to music when I was 16 or 17.
Okay.
By then, it was just like mostly like stuff like coming from like Street Fighter and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
I was playing like a lot of arcade games, like Third Strike, Last Blade 2,
mm-hmm.
and they just all had like eclectic, like soundtracks, so it would range from like jazz to like hip hop, like I showed you guys earlier. And then, anything that had guitars,
you gravitated to it.
I wanted that. I wanted all that.
I wanted all of it.
Yeah.
So Henry, what were your favorite video games growing up, and then what do you still play now?
Favorite video games growing up. 1080 snowboarding was pretty dope.
Oh, I love the snowboarding games. Yeah.
Wave Race 64 was fire. I never had a PlayStation, and I loved playing Metal Gear Solid at my cousin's house, so that was pretty fire. And then after that, I just played like fighting games, like Street Fighter, and old SNK games like Samurai Showdown.
Oh, Samurai Showdown had a dope soundtrack too.
Yeah, Last Blade.
Yeah,
lots of stuff like that.
Yeah. All right, so I got to ask, because it's the elephant in the room for me, at least.
Mm-hmm.
There's a current genre going around the internets, and it's taking them by storm. It's blowing up the internet, if you will. And that is the current vein of the new wave music. And, new wave music came out in the 80s, And that kind of went hand in hand with the rise of video games. Video games, I think, influenced the music realm in the 80s because of the new wave sound, and the sound of video games have used the same boards. They use the same synthesizer. So there's this new music called synth pop, which is extremely based around the video game world, especially with bands like Power Glove and Sword of Evil and FM85 or FM84, excuse me, and Gunship. Gunship kind of focuses mainly around movies from the 80s, whereas the earlier aforementioned bands focus mainly on video games, hence Power Glove. How do you feel about this wave of music coming back, called synth pop or synth wave music, and how does it fit within your realm of music?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I think it's dope because I make music like it. So,
okay, well,
that's the easy answer.
Yeah, short answer. Well,
yeah.
Thanks, guys. That's it.
Yeah. On the next episode,
but I think there's a sense of like, I mean, when I listen to stuff like that, I really always enjoy that kind of like warm analog sound, mm-hmm. And that's just like old tech stuff, like, so I feel it's a little bit, it feels like nostalgic, and it's kind of got this vibe where it's, it's chill and it's laid back, but it's like, it's moving, it's uplifting, and it has so many like moods and colors, there's so much you can do with that type of music. And, I mean, my memory might be like making stuff up here, but I think it was kind of based on a meme actually, where there's something like where they're using like old like Greco like sculptures and stuff and putting them in like sort of like 3D rooms and like with different like colors and whatnot, and things just started coming out of all of that, all this synthwave, because it's just a fucking internet, and that's it.
Yeah, that's basically like, I remember when I first heard synthwave, it was in 2009, and there was like a guy sitting at a desk, and he looked like one of those 80, like the end of a video game in the 80s, where it was like there wasn't any like cutaway to a video. It was just a dude going, "You won this time," and then like his shoulders would move, but that was to be about it. And then there'd be some text to read, and then there'd be this music playing in the background. I feel like that was my introduction to synthwave, and then it's only grown exponentially in the last couple of years. And I keep referring to Gunship and FM84. Have you heard them before, or
I have not?
You have not?
No.
I'm going to put you on to them just to see.
Please do.
Yeah, I'd like to hear your reaction to that on a later date, on a future episode. I think you should definitely come back, and we can.
I'm like, here I am. I'm reacting. It took me 5 weeks to get to the reaction.
Joining in the fray. So would you say that that's the vein of and the realm of where you want to end up as far as music goes? Do you want to have like your own synthwave album?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
I think it's more a matter of just exploring it.
Okay.
As with all music, like it's just like I was thinking about it, like just like as a person who makes music, you just try and make music that's interesting,
right?
And that moves with time, right? So this could be interesting now, and then fuck this shit,
like a month later.
I'm gonna go make like fucking, Gregorian chant music only for the next 5 years. Let's fucking go.
Enigma returns.
Yo,
that'd be great. I mean, I'd be
looking
for either way. I'm super excited to see what you come up with, because I've been following you on the TikToks.
That's it.
On the Tiki-Talkies?
On the Tiki-Talkies. And I'm hearing and I'm watching you put these little clips together and have it all come together, and then you go, now I'm going to add Zelda. Like, it's so fun to see these things like come into fruition and develop, even though it's only in little tidbits. So
yeah, if you want to see more of this, go to @Henry Martinez Music on Instagram. You'll see
on everything.
Actually.
On everything.
TikTok,
yeah, that's
everything.
smart. Everything's
Snapchat too.
I don't use Snap.
Yeah,
that's one of like personal things. That's where it's like personal memes to people. Yeah,
okay. Private memes.
Yeah, right, exactly.
I'm your private
hentai.
Yes, I send hentai to people.
Oh, there we go.
With like octopuses thrusting 8 different
orifices.
Well, guys, this is the best segue. The best segue as possible to Tricks of the Keys.
We bring you tricks of the keys.
Tricks of the Keys. Now, we had to pick something that was video game related. And I thought it would be pretty interesting to mention this because I know there was a time when parents were like, yo, video games aren't going to get you anywhere. And for every parent that said that, I say, hey, you're wrong, because there is a man named Christopher Tin who holds two distinctions. He has a Guinness World Record, and he's the first video game composer to win a Grammy Award. Though off our traditional method, other than hardcore gamers and Grammy enthusiasts, you don't know about this guy. And Christopher Tin holds the major two distinctions of being the Guinness World Record winner and 53rd Grammy Award winner for a song he did from Civilization 4 called Baba Yetu. And I thought it would be cool to mention that because I know a lot of parents will be like, you shouldn't be playing those video games. It'll take you nowhere. Now this guy has a Grammy. He probably has a fat car, beautiful women all around him.
Car.
Yeah, fat car.
Oh, they have fat car.
Fat, like the big tires and like the zombie,
I definitely want a giant Hummer.
Yeah, something like that. And he probably has one because he came up with that. It won a Grammy and he's in the Guinness Book of World Records. So don't knock video games, parents. Give it a chance. The soundscapes actually help kids focus, and it's been scientifically proven that the video game soundtracks do help children concentrate. So don't knock it, parents.
So don't be fooled by the keys.
Yes, don't be fooled by those keys. But more importantly, I want to get into Yasu Kishira's amazing soundtrack for the video game Streets of Rage 2. Now, so as you hear in the background, Julian's doing the great soundtrack, because when you hear the Streets of Rage 2 soundtrack, you're going to say, oh, this is Dance Dance Revolution, right? This is like a dancing video game. No, it's a fighting game. This is like people on the streets fighting to death. They're pulling out hammers and pipes and knives, and they're slamming, and there's giant monsters jumping around
in Miami somewhere.
It definitely looks like Miami. And when you hear this soundtrack, you're like, oh, there's no way that this is a freaking fighting game of any stretch of the form. But no, this is a fighting game soundtrack, and I highly recommend you take a jump over to the YouTubes and listen to. Actually, we'll put it in the playlist so you can hear
just go down and click the link.
Yeah, and the To Be Seen, so it's the number 2, BESCENE, for those of you listening on the iTunes, Google Play, and other podcast versions. We highly recommend you come to the video version and see our leveled up video source. And a big shout out to my friend Mark Frabell, for telling me that I've got a level up device this whole time that I should have been using from day one. And I appreciate the time and the patience you took to show me how to use this thing. So thank you, sir. And the number 2, BESCENE, seen as in a movie, To Be Seen. I definitely recommend you guys take a listen to the 2 soundtracks that we put each other onto, this Tricks of the Keys and the Baba Yetu song that won the Grammy. The first video game to win not only a Grammy, but be in the Guinness Book of World Records. It's so dope. Henry Martinez, thank you so much for joining us here on the Disc Dungeon, for allowing Disc Dungeon to thrive through the wondrous realms of Adios. Big shout out to Joel, and of course, my amazing co-host, who now is returning to the sexy mustache man.
I am Julian Valencia.
Julian Valencia.
Guys, if you like the sound quality of this podcast, if you're really enjoying the sound effects as well, just this is what we do at Made by Adios. We make music, we make sounds. If you like his mustache and my mustache
put together,
then you definitely need to get out here, because we make mustache music.
Yeah, mustache music. That's great.
This is a genre.
That's a new genre. Look out!
This is Made by Adios.
Look out!
Very good.
As always, Julian Valencia,
Joe Dove. Take care, folks.
Peace out.